file systems. I wanted to talk about the approach that I'm thinking of for file systems here, talking about having Inkscape and OpenOffice, all these other use WebDave as their file system interface when they're ported to the web operating system. Well, why WebDave? What's the end game here? How does this all work? For that, a bit of history. Way back in the 1980s, very successful, in my opinion, research project at Carnegie Mellon, sponsored by several companies. IBM was the major sponsor. I believe that Hewlett-Packard and Son also provided some sponsorship. There was also DARPA funding in there. This was a research project called Andrew. One-third of that project, conceptually speaking, was to build a global file system, an internet-based file system. The immediate goal for that project was to have the file system span the entire campus, so that thousands of users, population of 10, 20,000 around CMU, would all share a file system on all of their computers using this network. But additionally, those 10,000 users would share a file system with some more thousands at MIT and some more thousands at another university. That line of research was very productive. They discerned, and correctly had good arguments and a good demonstration in the successful implementation, that at the core of a global scale file system is something that scales to the web today. What you need are primitive operations to copy large chunks of files between servers and clients, to cache those chunks, to have systems of timeouts and callbacks for flushing those chunks, to adjust your semantic expectations of files ever so slightly to account for the latency problems and the problems of disconnected portions of the net. And finally, to have an intelligently designed, globally scalable namespace. All of these primitive concepts, which were discovered and demonstrated within the Andrew project, and there were other projects that did similar things. That's the one I'm most familiar with. Those core concepts are all available in WebDave. Now, WebDave implementations do not by any means yet provide a global file system. We don't have a peer-to-peer system of servers with lots of replication. We don't yet have really excellent caching technology on the client side. Everything right now is quite crude, but in a few years, all of this stuff will catch up to where we were back in 1987. That's why I think beginning with WebDave and trying to port these applications to it and focus on the needs of these specific real applications and the user-facing use cases that are most interesting to us is a really good way to begin to drive forward this concept of building a distributed, decentralized, no central authority, democratically approachable, very inexpensive commodity cloud computing file system at global scale on the web. And so when we're building a WebOS, web operating system for collaboration, that's the kind of end game, that's the trajectory that we're on, is to catch up from that 20-year-old work. Those guys did a good job.